Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show. We are returning once more for another Thursday evening prediction show, joined as per usual and tradition by Mark. How are you doing on this Thursday Eve?
Not bad at all. Yeah, just still freezing a little bit. It's still only 1 degree here in Hamburg, so there's still no sign of the winter passing away anytime soon. But yeah, obviously looking forward to another good weekend of action. Obviously watched a bit of the Cup as well this
Yep.
week with a couple of interesting games. So yeah, and then another big weekend. It feels like a while since we've had a break, doesn't it, Rory? I mean, it's really straight through from kind of, for this 2 month period. It's a really great period of the season, isn't it? Because there's no breaks for internationals, no, like winter pauses and things like that. So it's great to kind of really, I think you can really get some great momentum at this stage of the season, can't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's not been any international footy for a long while. We do have a break in March at some point, don't we? I think
Yeah,
that's
just
the next
1 week, I
international
think.
break.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that will come around. Yeah, quite soon. But yeah, absolutely. It's been nice to have a good stretch of Bundesliga footy and for us to really get stuck into it. Plenty of shows for us to be producing, that's for sure. But yeah, obviously looking ahead this evening to match week 24 of the Bundesliga. So 11 games to go. So looking forward to this one. We'll get kick-started with that in a second. But just the usual little bits and bobs of admin. Do make sure you leave a like. Give us a thumbs up on this one. Comment along if you're watching live with us. And if not, leave a comment in the YouTube comment section with your predictions. Had some lovely comments on these shows in the last few weeks, so we really appreciate that, and that's lovely that people enjoy these prediction shows particularly, which is awesome. Do make sure as well to check out our two partners, which of course are Bundesliga Boxes and bullynews.com, and go make sure you find us on all social media, because that is obviously how we get all the notifications out to you guys as and when we're recording. But yeah, on with the show, on with the first game. So Friday night football starts in the south of Germany, Mark, and you're going to lead us off on this one because I, as per usual, tactically swerve having to call any VfB games possible.
Yeah, and obviously it's a great curtain raiser for the weekend, isn't it? It's a Sud derby, a highly anticipated Sud derby with so much relying on it as well. Obviously Stuttgart still in the race for Champions League or minimum Europa League they'll be aiming for this season. And then obviously Bayern Munich going for the title. And to be honest, from what I've been reading this week and speaking to a few people, most people seem to think that if Bayern get the win here, it's more or less done, to be honest, because with an 8-point lead with 10 games to go, having cleared a lot of difficult fixtures in recent weeks, then I think there wouldn't really be anything left in it. So I think all of Germany, pretty much outside of the south part of Bavaria, will be supporting Stuttgart in this game. And for me, I think Stuttgart do have a big performance in them. I think they were actually quite good last week and were pretty unlucky not to win at Hoffenheim. But weirdly, this season, I think we've seen better performances away from home from them, actually. I think at home, they have struggled a little bit at times, which is weird because they got such a strong crowd there with the Cannstatter Kurve behind them. And historically, they've always been a much stronger home team, Stuttgart. But this season's been a bit of an anomaly in that regard. But having said that, I think the Friday night light and also the fact that Bayern are without Kimmich as well, I think Kane will probably start because he did come off the bench, but you never know. He might not be 100% for this game. And I do believe that Stuttgart have still got a big performance in them. So I'm going to kick this off with a nice game and a nice start with a 3-2 Stuttgart win. I'm going to go for the shock today. I'm not sure whether Rory's going to be so confident to back me up there.
You know what? It's a great game to kickstart the weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually driving down south tomorrow evening, so I may be able to watch the second half, but I'll probably be getting my partner to put it on my phone whilst I'm driving down the M1 or something like that, so I can keep an eye on it. Stands to reason that if Bayern come away with all 3 points, that's probably a safe bet to say that they have secured the title. I kind of agree with you. I kind of get this feeling that something big might come from the VfB. I'm not going to call a win, but I might lock in a 2-2 draw. And yeah, from no other reason than just some sort of inner feeling, inner gut feeling that we might give them a real good go and game. Listening to the brilliant VfB Americana lads, shout out to them. I was listening to their pod the other day. They weren't predicting any kind of Stuttgart result. Hopefully, I'm not jinxing it, fingers crossed. The VfB pull out a great result on Friday night to get the juices flowing for the match week ahead. So yeah, I'll say 2-2, I reckon. On to Saturday afternoon then, and we've got RB Leipzig taking on Mainz 05. And yeah, this is a interesting game to call. Obviously, there's a lot to be said around Leipzig's inability to just get themselves going and really kind of capture the imagination of Leipzig fans. Obviously, they if there's one thing that Leipzig fans can more or less rely on, it's Leipzig in the Pokal, I guess, Mark. I mean, they got through against Wolfsburg last night. They've got a good record in recent years, but so that will boost the confidence for sure. Clean sheets, absolutely. They're missing players though, and Mainz are a very capable team. You can see obviously that they're very close together in the table. So I might say sit on the fence and say 1-1. Can't separate them, to be honest, myself.
Yeah, this is a tough game to tip because, you could tip up both teams in this one. As you say, Leipzig got a vital win, really, over Wolfsburg yesterday. I mean, there was a lot of controversy over the penalty that got them the win, but ultimately it's a good result against a strong Wolfsburg side. And it keeps them well in with a chance of silverware this season as well. Obviously, I think everyone will be wanting to draw Bielefeld in that semi-final potentially, which could give them a chance to go to the Olympiastadion come May as well. So, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, Bielefeld have had some shocks themselves. As for Mainz, they just keep rolling on, don't they? I mean, they've already won 11 games this season, around about a 50% win rate in the league, which is fantastic. They can win all kinds of games as well. They've beaten Bayern, still the only team to have beaten Bayern so far. They've beaten Dortmund. They've beaten Frankfurt away from home, but they've also beaten some of the bottom teams as well. So I think they can take on any team in this league at the moment, and they'll really believe that they can get a result from this. So I'm also going to go for a 1-1 here, Rory. I just feel as though it's too much to ask for Leipzig to win two big games in a week on the form that they're on. And I think Johnny B is back, and he got obviously a goal and an assist last week, and that is crucial to them. And there's just so much quality in that side, as well as very strong defense too. Let's not forget that. So for me, coupled with a good big match record this season, they should be able to get a draw from the Red Bull Arena. So moving on to another game, Heidenheim Gladbach. Yeah, obviously the Tim Kleindienst derby, really, this one, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one because obviously Heidenheim got that good result at Leipzig last week, and they have looked a little bit better, I would say, in recent weeks. They were pretty unlucky to lose to Copenhagen in the Europa League, the Conference League. But in the end, that could be a saviour in a weird way. That could be a saviour because it lightens their fixture list a bit. They had a free week for the first time in a while this week. So they'll come into this one well rested. Obviously, Gladbach, a much stronger team overall, as we know, but they do have issues with the keeper big time at the minute. Obviously, Moritz Nicolas, who had a really good season before his injury, is pretty much out for most of the season. Then, obviously, Omlin, who had that kind of beleaguered return last week and is suspended for this game. And then Tobias Sippel, who was awful, basically, in that second half. I think I actually looked at his stats. In 10 years, he's only made 19 appearances for Gladbach. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, to say he's rusty is an understatement. And the rumor is there's going to be like a young keeper who's going to potentially replace him for his debut. So we could be looking at the fourth choice keeper coming in here for Gladbach. So that definitely gives hope for Heidenheim, because we do know that some of these kind of, keepers that don't play very often, they can be very, very suspect at times. But it's a tough one to take, because I still feel as though the Gladbach attack will have too much for this Heidenheim team. So I've gone for a 2-1 away win. I think Heidenheim will get a goal, maybe through a goalkeeping error. But Gladbach should have too much, and I wouldn't be surprised if the main man Kleindienst bags on his return to his former club. So, Rory, what do you think?
3-1 away win for me. I don't disagree with you. I think obviously Heidenheim showed good fight and determination. Showed parts of quality in the 2-2 draw with Leipzig. They obviously caught the Red Bulls very cold at the start of the game. Obviously, one wonders what would have happened result-wise if Leipzig were remotely on their kind of game. The release from Europe is a load-bearing kind of thing, which is good for them, but still don't see it turning around too quickly, too fast, sadly for Frankie Schmidt's men. So where are we at? Well, we've got the all-green derby. We've got Werder taking on Wolfsburg on Saturday afternoon as well. This is a tricky game for Werder. Wolfsburg are a side who have got great quality going forwards. And one thing Werder have really been struggling with is conceding goals. I think we were talking about it on Monday's pod, that they'd conceded 11 in their last 3 games, something like that. Zeta, unfortunately, it seems to be having a bit of an issue with like long range goals, especially, and ones that are going into the opposite corner. Don't know if he's just got his positioning wrong all of a sudden, and whether it's a confidence thing. But Bremen just in general, I mean, their confidence is, it's going to be absolutely kaput, especially what happened in the Cup, which I called, FYI, on Monday.
Yeah, you did, to be fair. You did. Yeah.
Amazing night for Bielefeld. And very much one to forget for Werder, because, sorry to say it, but their season's over now. Like, the Cup's gone, their form has absolutely disappeared. Unless they can go on a mad run, in these next 11 games and get themselves involved in Europe again, then it's just going to be, kind of regathering until the end of the season. With all that in mind, I am going to go for another away win. We'll go for 2 in a row here, and I will say 2-0. I'm going for the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, you got the analysis completely right there, Rory, saying that it's just a confidence issue with Bremen. Every game you can see the confidence is getting lower and lower and lower. It's not only the defense and keeper as well, it's also the attack. I mean, the attack is completely out of form as well. I mean, Dutch was obviously dropped for the last league game, returned against Bielefeld, but then ended up going off injured as well.
Yeah, so
Rule has done nothing in 2025 either, and Jinmar has done nothing in 2025, and Andre Silva also hasn't improved them at all. So, yeah. And then defensively, as you say, they're making mistakes. Zeta, after a really good 18 months or so, has really kind of gone off in recent times, and he is making errors, and he looks low on confidence. Pieper, Stark, Velkovic, none of them look as good as they were before. Friedel, they're all making mistakes. And as you say, this is a game that Wolfsburg are going to look at and think this has got to be 3 points. They are a very good away side as well. They've had a much better record away from home than at home. I think they're either 3rd or 4th in the away table, actually. They've been a very strong away team. And I also went for 2-0 in this one, Rory, because I just don't see Bremen getting back on the winning trail in this particular game. So moving on to an interesting one at the bottom of the table as well, between VfL Bochum and Hoffenheim. A few weeks ago, you probably have said this was probably going to be a 0-0 draw, but I mean, both teams have massively improved the last 3 weeks, haven't they? I think you've got to give credit to both teams. Both are on a decent little run at the minute. Bochum 3 games unbeaten, Hoffenheim 2. but the general performances have been slowly increasing for some time now. But having said that, I still feel as though it's a bigger game for Bochum because most of their wins come at home. It's always been like that, really, with them. They've still yet to win on the road this season, at least without potentially the default win at Union, which could be coming any day soon. But they've still not won in 90 minutes away from home yet. Hoffenheim tend to travel better as well, actually, and that is another point. There's been a few teams this year that have travelled better than they played at home, and Hoffenheim are definitely one of them. But having said that, I just feel as though Bochum are going to get over the line in this one. I don't know why, because I quite like what Hoffenheim are doing at the minute. I think they've got a lot of quality. Orban has really impressed me. But I just think Bochum is going to be that old fight. We're starting to see that old school grit that we saw for so many years of Bochum, which was missing for the entire 2024, basically. But we have definitely seen improvement, and I think they're going to get a 2-1 home win here, which would be a massive victory. What do you think, Rory?
Yeah, for the want of not looking like I'm just copying and pasting what you're saying as well. Yeah, I'm locking in 2-1. Just get a feeling that Bochum are going to be able to use the atmosphere in the stadium. Like you say, all their points usually come from that home form. Again, exactly like you said, Hoffenheim do tend to do better on the road, but just kind of get the feeling that it's going to be super important for Bochum to try and pull things back, obviously, and move themselves, up the table as much as humanly possible, and whether they can close a gap, into onto Pauli and co. Hoffenheim, they got a result against, my boys at the weekend, but frankly, they shouldn't have. It was completely, dominant performance by Stuttgart, and it's the away side's problem that they didn't get the win, but Hoffenheim, like you say, through Gift Orban, managed to get a good goal back and get a good result for them. But yeah, I can see them succumbing to the VfL on the weekend. Also, then what we have is tricky match for FC St. Pauli. Obviously hosting Borussia Dortmund, whose away form you could describe as being no better than tragic or a tragedy. It is really not what the BVB fans have wanted to see all season long. But yeah, how did Dortmund go after their excellent, 6-0 victory over the weekend at home against a Union team, especially late on in the game, that probably just didn't fancy it and wanted to get home. How do you call this? The Milan tour will be a great atmosphere. Pauli need goals, though. They really do. So I'm going to say, again, by hook or by crook, I don't believe much in Dortmund's away form, but I'm going to tip it. I'm going to say 3-1 away win.
Yeah, I think this was a really tough one to tip. I totally agree with you, Rory. I'm starting to worry about Pauli a little bit, though. As you say, they are slipping down the table, and the worrying, especially from Bochum, the kind of form they put together. And if they win and Pauli lose, then it's absolutely back on for that playoff spot, and all of a sudden Bochum have the form and probably the better team ultimately out of the two sides as well, the better players, the more experienced players. And you would start to worry about them. And they just don't score goals. That's the problem. Sometimes you watch them and you think that there is some quality forward play, but they just don't have that natural finisher who's going to get you 10, 12 goals a season. Guy was good, but then he got injured. And now they've not even scored in 3 games. And everyone thought that Saad's return would start them scoring a few more goals, but they've not scored since he came back in the team. So
Yep.
there are clearly issues there. I don't think there'll be as many goals, Rory, but I have gone for a Dortmund win as well. I think they're just going to nick a 1-0 away win for me.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be a little bit scrappy. It should be a great atmosphere up there, but I'm not sure the game will live up to expectations here. I just think it's going to be a 1-0 Dortmund win. But anyway, it's still a win anyway. So let's move on to the top spiel, probably the game of one of two games of the weekend, really, isn't it? And it's obviously Frankfurt-Leverkusen, a very highly anticipated clash between two sides that are currently second and third in the table. But for me, Frankfurt have kind of stepped off a little bit in recent weeks, and I was very, very disappointed with the performance last week. I hope that Topmüller gets at least a better starting lineup in this game. Otherwise, it could be a similar scoreline, to be honest, in my eyes, because I just think he completely botched the team lineup last week. He's got to go with, Shaqiri in there again, because he's so key to their midfield. Leverkusen, for me, is still playing really well, actually. I think the performances haven't really dropped off much from last season, but it's just been a few clumsy draws, hasn't it? But I actually think they'll relish this fixture. I really do. And I think they'll be a little bit angry after not beating Bayern in the last major fixture. And even though they do have Champions League next week again against Bayern, I feel as though they'll be really up for this one. And I think regardless of the Bayern result on Friday night, we're going to see the best of Leverkusen here. So I've actually tipped a 4-1 away win. What do you think, Rory?
Well, I don't think it'll be 4-1, but I like a bold call, that's for sure. Both sides have scored goals. Good amount of goals throughout this season. Frankfurt have only scored 2 fewer goals in the league, so 51 for Leverkusen and 49 for Frankfurt. Stands to reason that it should be a really good top spiel. Really looking forward to it. I think it will be a closer game than 4-1, but only by 1 goal. So I'm going to say a 3-1 away win. I think the quality of Leverkusen will tell. The inexperience of this Frankfurt side will probably also tell. And they don't want this to happen. They do need to show their quality again soon, Frankfurt, because all the teams below them, as inconsistent as more or less all of them are, they are still coming to get Frankfurt. And Frankfurt do not want to then get involved in this 8-team race for Champions League and expand it and give their fans a nervy and edgy run in. But it stands to reason that it might be, because I think they will lose 3-1. It should be a good game on Saturday evening. On to Sunday's games. A game that has very large implications at the bottom end of the table is Union Berlin taking on Holstein Kiel. Kiel are desperate for points, absolutely. For all the credit and nice things that you and I have both said about Kiel in the last 6 weeks or so, give or take. Sadly, they are rooted to the bottom of the Bundesliga, and that realistically is where they should finish from a size of club and size of squad and funds to survive. But it's a great shame, because you always want to see teams involved competitively and have a really big, exciting finish from a relegation point of view, especially when your team's not involved in it. It makes it all the more exciting. And it'll be very interesting to see how Union responds to their 6-goal thumping last weekend. So I think this will be a close game, not one necessarily full of goals, but you never know in these relegation matches in the Bundesliga. And I will call a 1-1 draw. I'll have to sit on the fence, sadly. Would love to call a Kiel win, but at the moment, I just can't see them. They've just maybe dropped off in the last week or so, and going away to an Union side that should be well drilled by Baumgart will make it a stalemate.
Yeah, it's a hard one to tip again because this is a massive game for both, actually, because as we know that Union could potentially be losing this point to Bochum, which I've mentioned a few times today, but it really is a key thing for the relegation race because all of a sudden it's a 3-point gap then, because Union would lose a point and Bochum would gain 2. So for Union, it would effectively be a 3-point swing. So they're going to look at this game as a game they need to win. But for Kiel, it really is starting to get to like desperation stations a bit. With the improved form of Bochum, then they are starting to get a bit kind of dragged down. And specifically, if Bochum managed to beat Hoffenheim, they could be well adrift of third bottom by this game. Unfortunately, it could be, what would it be, 5 points, which is already starting to get quite a lot for a team that don't pick up many points. So, yeah, I agree with you, Rory. I would like to see Kiel get the win in this game, to be honest, because I do feel as though the performances deserve more points than what they've garnered at times. They've had a few decisions gone against them in recent weeks, and that's unfortunate. But I agree that they'll get a point. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw as well, Rory. We've agreed on quite a lot today, actually, haven't we? But yeah, it does look like a 1-1 draw. I think it's one of them where neither side will really be happy with a point either, unfortunately. But I think that's what we're going to get from this Sunday afternoon game. So moving on, a game that I'm quite looking forward to as well, actually, on Sunday evening. Between Augsburg and Freiburg. It's two of the form teams of the Bundesliga at the minute. And I think really looking strong. Augsburg, particularly defensively, are just rock solid at the minute. Absolutely rock solid. And then they've got that little bit of quality through Maurice as well, haven't they? And they're a hard-working side with a couple of playmakers in there. And it's making a really good balance at the minute for them. Freiburg have massively improved. They're having a brilliant 2025 and probably for me their best performance of the season last week against who was it? Bremen. Yeah, admittedly off form Bremen. But for me, I agree with Jona though. I am going to go for a home win here, which might shock a few people. But I feel as though Freiburg are due a checker at some point, And Augsburg is a tough place to go, especially at the minute. And I feel as though Augsburg are going to get a 2-1 win. Rory?
Yeah, fair prediction from yourself, Mark, and from Jonna. Interesting to see her Jonna backing Union as well. Like that claim. What do I think? I think this will also be a draw. I will say 2-2 for these two teams. I think. Yep, both have had good spells for the last few weeks. Like we've said on many shows, and we were trying to give Freiburg their flowers on the Monday pod, and rightly so, because they have been on a lovely little run, and they do exactly what they're supposed to. They beat the teams that they're supposed to, and that has led and often leads to good seasons. But yeah, they'll be up against a confident FCA side, like you say, with that quality thrown in there. Be interesting to see who gets the nod. As the lone striker, so be it. If it's Asende or Tietz, I'd probably favour Asende myself from what I've seen of him so far this season. But yeah, no, it'll be a good game to finish off the weekend, and yeah, I think it might be draw in this case. So yeah, finishing off for this evening, we'll just have a brief gander at the league table. If all things that we have predicted come to pass, and well, for our sake, we hope that we're sometimes half right. So if we're right, that Leverkusen win and Stuttgart win, then the title race may well be completely reopened, with it just being a 5-point gap and Stuttgart moving up into 5th place with Mainz and Frankfurt there respectively, but all very tight still. And then if we have a little look at the bottom of the table, we'll also see things. Still not looking too great for our bottom 3 clubs, but like we've mentioned, Pauli are starting to get a little bit, sucked into that relegation mixer. And, if you're saying that, then Hoffenheim aren't never far away from trouble, are they? So, yeah, great show. Great to look forward ahead to match week 24. Very much looking forward to it all. So I hope you all enjoy. One thing, all there is left for me to say is make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Myself and Runa shall be back for fantasy football fun at 8:30 a.m. UK time. So make sure you set your alarm clocks and see us there for that. But Mark, you can close up tonight's show.
Yeah, thanks to Yona as well for the nice comments as well about the show. Thanks for joining us as well, Yona. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking then, looking at the table, if those results come to fruition, wow, what a table we've got going into match week 25. Like, it would be so tight in every part of the table, really, if that comes to fruition. But you never know, Rory. Maybe we'll be right, maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, let's have a look. So if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications as well. Don't forget our social media to @OverTheBarFB on X and Threads. Don't forget also we're on Instagram @OverTheBarFB. So yeah, check out all that, and we'll see you again on tomorrow, actually, for the fantasy football show tomorrow morning. So yeah, don't forget that as well. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye, guys.
Cheers all.